UFOs have been a topic of interest for years now. The term stands for Unidentified Flying Objects. Over the years, thousands of people have come forward with photographs and videos of these mysterious objects. However, it's important to understand that a UFO is simply an object that cannot be identified at that moment in time. Some of the most interesting reports come from those people that spend the majority of their time in the sky. Tic Tac UFO. The Tic Tac UFOs, given their name due to their rounded shape and white colour, were first spotted by radar operator Kevin Day on the USS Princeton. He describes seeing objects in groups of between 5 and 10 slowly flying at an elevation of 28,000 feet. Day's initial reaction was that the objects held missile characteristics. Others, however, were less accepting of the shapes. The majority on board the ship assumed that the brand new radar system must be malfunctioning. But when it was restarted and recalibrated, the shapes Day had reported came back clearer and sharper. What happened next was very interesting. According to multiple sailors, a helicopter landed on the ship and agents emerged and gathered all the information relating to the Tic Tac shapes. By the time the helicopter had flown away, there was no longer any evidence of the UFOs on board. Then, on the 14th of November on the USS Nimitz, Commander David Fravor and Chad Underwood spotted an object strikingly similar to the ones Day had seen. Fravor described how the Tic Tac UFO dove below the water, resurfaced, and sped out of sight when he approached. Underwood was tasked with capturing video footage for intelligence to analyze, so did not have a great deal of time to see the object with his own eyes, but he does recall seeing a blip on his radar in the midst of a clear blue sky. Underwood also recalls that this blip was not behaving within the normal laws of physics. Instead, the object was impossibly and erratically veering from 50,000 feet to 100 feet in seconds. Part of the infrared video footage that Underwood recorded of the Tic Tac UFO is known as the 2004 USS Nimitz FLIR-1 video. It was recorded in 2004, but took 13 years to be released to the public by the New York Times. Reportedly, the footage was released by whistleblower and former intelligence officer Luis Elizondo. This was to shed light on secretive Department of Defense operations regarding UFO sightings. The grainy black and white video seems to challenge logic and defy reality. However, its authenticity was confirmed by the Pentagon. The fact that the government has refused to release the whole footage has led many to suspect this is a genuine sighting of a UFO. Notably, all the men who saw the Tic Tac UFO are trustworthy sources. They are all highly esteemed in their fields, and none are UFO fanatics. In fact, Underwood delayed coming forward with his observations for years due to a fear of having his name attached to the little green men crazes that are out there. That being said, the Tic Tac UFO sightings have been widely criticized. Many have proposed that what Underwood and others observed was an aircraft, a weather balloon, or a flock of birds. Notably, Underwood strongly argues against this. He says there was no way the object he saw could have been a man-made aircraft, as if it were, it would have had to emit a heat plume, which it did not. He goes on to argue that the shapes could not have been birds, as they were travelling far too high and too slowly, without any established path, and no aircraft, bird, or a weather balloon could physically behave as erratically as the shape Underwood spotted. Others have argued that the strange sightings were a result of faulty equipment. They say that the USS Princeton equipment and Underwood's infrared camera must have had glitches. For the latter, some argue that the object might have appeared to veer dramatically to Underwood because of the way he was maneuvering the aircraft. However, as previously mentioned, the equipment on the USS Princeton had already been shut down and restarted to check for bugs. Whether you choose to believe the footage is evidence of extraterrestrial behavior or a human or mechanical error, the Tic Tac UFO mystery remains unsolved. Japan Airlines Flight 1628 incident. The Japan Airlines Flight 1628 was flying from Paris to Tokyo when 3 strange objects were spotted. The sighting lasted 50 minutes in total and have been argued by many to be evidence of extraterrestrial activity. the crew first witnessed an irregularity when flying over eastern Alaska. To their left, they reported seeing two unidentified objects rising and escorting their aircraft. The objects were both square-shaped and cylindrical, with a glow so strong it lit the whole cabin up. A warmth was also experienced that carried through the walls of the plane. Captain Taurasi was alarmed and immediately made a series of panicked calls to the Air Traffic Control Center to see if there were any other aircrafts in the area. He was told that none were showing up on the radar. No sooner had Taurasi heard this, he observed the two unidentified objects darting and moving around in a very erratic manner. It was also noted that a much larger craft loomed into view behind them. This larger craft was described by Taurasi as a mothership and twice the size of any aircraft. What's more, it was moving in a way that defied gravity. Taurasi would later report how it sped up, then stopped, then flew at our speed in our direction so that to us it appeared to be standing still. The next instant it changed course. In other words, the flying object had overcome gravity. Donald D. Engen, Vice Admiral of the FAA, gathered together representatives of the FBI and CIA and showed a recording of the events. Reportedly, after the video had played, he told the room that the incident was a secret, and if asked, the meeting never took place. It was only when John Callahan, the FAA Division Chief of the Accidents and Investigations Branch, launched an investigation that the incident properly came to light. Callahan accused the members of this secret meeting of confiscating and hiding the data from the event. The remaining evidence that could be gathered led the FAA to conclude that the sightings reported on the Japan Airlines Flight 1628 were a result of technical difficulties and a split radar image. Subsequently, Taurasi was discredited, despite his extensive experience flying planes, as merely a UFO fanatic. He was accused of having logged several other sightings during his time with the airline and therefore accused of being a biased observer. It was even suggested that Taurasi and his crew had simply become disorientated and made the silly mistake of misidentifying Mars or Venus. What doesn't make sense, and to some might even be seen as suspicious, was the treatment of Taurasi. When Taurasi gave an interview to two journalists about the events he had witnessed, the reaction of the authorities was to immediately demote him to a desk job and out of the limelight. For some, this fierce reaction to quieten Taurasi is evidence of a cover-up. The events that day on board Japan Airlines Flight 1628 were far more sinister than a mere technical error. It's bizarre why individuals are treated this way. If anything, it only helps the case of the eyewitnesses. As many have pointed out, it's an insult to those who have studied and worked so hard to become a pilot, to then have your name tarnished when you're being honest and telling the truth on what you saw. (2007) Alderney UFO sighting. In 2007, two experienced airline pilots on separate flights reported seeing the same mysterious object hovering off the coast of Alderney. Captain Ray Boyer was flying a plane of 5 passengers from Southampton to Alderney when he noticed a bright light ahead of him. At first, he assumed the light was from a reflection of the sun, but when the light remained completely stationary, he began to grow cautious. Taking out a pair of binoculars to observe the light in more detail, he saw it was cigar-shaped with a green area, pointed ends, and was emitting light downward. Boyer would later state in his 9 years of flying he had never seen anything like it. Even more strangely, behind this light, Boyer saw a second identical light. Conscious of the safety of his passengers, Boyer continued with the flight. After landing, Boyer asked the passengers if any of them had seen anything unusual, and a number of them reported spotting the same stationary and luminous light in the sky. Some were so convinced by what they had seen, they agreed to submit a report to go public with their sighting. When Boyer relayed what he had seen to air traffic control, he was told a similar report had come in from Blue Island pilot Captain Patterson. Patterson's flight had been further away from the light than Boyer's, but he too had reported a yellow and beige light that posited some type of atmospheric phenomenon. The sightings did not end there, though. BBC Radio Guernsey reported that a couple had been on a walk that afternoon and returned to their hotel. inquiring about the two bright yellow lights in the sky above Alderney. Even more concrete proof came when it was shown that Jersey's airport's primary low-level radar had registered the presence of two objects in the area. Boyer and Patterson were both convinced they had seen UFOs. Skeptics have argued against them and instead proposed the two lights were either a military aircraft, a Sundog, or Earthlights. Firstly, for some the description of the two lights could have been secret military aircrafts in the local airspace. The presence of such aircrafts would be extremely dangerous and illegal, and notably the Ministry of Defense and French military both issued statements to say they had no part to play in any potential military exercise. Secondly, astronomers have put forward the theory that the two lights were caused by sundog effects. Sundogs usually appear close to the sun and tend to be coloured. While the description of the sundogs fits the profile of the lights Boyer and Patterson spotted, what is problematic is that the two lights were reported at an altitude of around 2,000 feet, much further below the sun than sundogs would be. The third and final theory put forward was that the lights were the result of Earthlights, sunlight reflected from the Earth's surface. Earthlights appear as luminous and coloured objects, but once again, while they fit the profile of Boyer and Patterson's sighting, their location does not. Earthlights do not occur over water, and the lights Boyer and Patterson reported manifested themselves above the sea. But what do you make of these interesting stories? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.